Hello and welcome back to another episode of Reactions, I guess, by me, the Wise James, whatever you want to call it. This one's done by a really well-known local YouTuber who is doing a review of my town centre, Gateshead, which is an embarrassment to the country. Literally, my high street where I live is an embarrassment to this country. It's a disgrace, absolute disgrace. Anyway, he used to do lots of football videos. He does lots of historical ones on history of the Northeast. If you are interested in that sort of stuff, his name is Tyneside Life on YouTube. He's a good bloke. Does some good videos. So, as I'm the king of Gateshead, it's my duty to watch this and see what the crack is. Nah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. These people all live in my local community, so I'm gonna have to watch what I say.
How are you doing, Alex?
I watch
cheers.
it all the time.
Appreciate it. I'm
I know you said about me, mate. I seen it on the YouTube.
doing a video about the High Street.
Well, this is the best bar on the high street.
I think it's one of the only ones left,
Coming
isn't
soon,
it?
you know, totally.
Are they closing?
Well, yeah, there's not a date on it, but this is coming soon, just like the William did.
Aye,
And then there's just going to be the Met, but they've got the Tyneside I do now.
aye. Doing the bottom end. That's a canny bar.
Every Wednesday, Granny's.
Aye, are you there, are you?
I don't care. Are you? So I'm on YouTube now, man.
You're on YouTube,
Go
aye?
on, son.
In 3 words, sum up
Famous, mate,
this end of the
famous.
High Street.
Shithole. Full of smack kids. But it's good people as well.
In this video,
That's kind of what the high street is. There's good people who are trying to go about their business, but there's so many heroin addicts. Like, and I feel sorry for them. As much as I don't like heroin addicts, I also feel sorry for them because it's not like they chose to be heroin. Well, maybe some of them did, but like, it just ruins the whole town centre. Like, there are some people who don't even want to go to the town centre just because there's a bunch of heroin addicts hanging around there trying to either steal from all the shops or hassle the punters for money, or just looking for vulnerable adults with mental health problems to take advantage of for money, to get their heroin. Honestly, it just makes me sick and disgusted every time I walk past. I just don't understand like how this town has allowed it to continue. It's been years of it now, years of it. This goes on. There's years of it. And nothing's done. Nothing is done.
we're going to confront the harsh realities of Gateshead High Street, particularly
Bluebell. I once forgot my keys there on the night out. Went to go home. Fuck. Forgot my keys. Went back. The bar had shut. Had to sleep on someone's sofa. And then pick up my keys the next day. A week later, it was closing down. I would have never got my keys back.
we're going to confront
Actually, my belt broke on the dance floor in that pub. So I'm in the middle of dancing. Fucking loads of old people in Gateshead. And my belt from Primark just broke. Worst time ever.
the harsh realities of Gateshead
I think that was the same night I lost the keys.
High Street, particularly the south end of Gateshead High Street, once a buzzing central hub of the Gateshead community with pubs and shops.
My whole family lives in Gateshead, basically. My whole family's from Gateshead. Like, either Wrighton, Greenside, Crawcrook, fucking, I think Blackhall Mill at the minute. I lived in Newcastle for most of the time in the north, but over the last 11 years, I've just lived in Gateshead Central. Like, I live in Gateshead. I am the king of Gateshead. This is my fucking territory, all right? My city, my town, my place. Yeah. Gateshead's one of these places that has a reputation, even in places with a reputation. So you could go to like Newcastle and be like, if you were from Gateshead, you're kind of seen in a different way. The same as if you're from certain areas of Newcastle, you're seen in a different way. Namely, like Scotswood, probably Biker, Benwell. Like, if you're from certain areas in Newcastle, you'll and Gateshead, people look at you differently. So even the hard fuckers in the north look at these people like, "Phew," you know what I mean? And Bentham in Gateshead, where I live, is one of them places. Yeah.
The law now, as you'll see for yourself, it's an absolute tip. 80 to 90% of the shops on the high street here are economically inactive, shutters down.
I don't understand how any of these shops on this street stay viable because nee fucker walks down it apart from to go to Tesco's, which is like down the road. No one uses this street apart from on Friday, Saturday night for a few drinks. Takeaways might be open, the pizza place, fish and chip shop.
Graffiti everywhere, dirty, it's run down.
Although that Florence place has been open for a while, and Capital Properties has always been open for a while, but yeah.
Abandoned, it seems neglected. And not to put too fine a point on it, the high street here in Gateshead, right next to Newcastle, a centre of culture, is a stain on Tyneside. It's one of the worst high streets you'll see in our area. It's an embarrassment, in my opinion.
I don't understand how it's got this way. Like, the council should be ashamed of themselves. Ashamed. And they're not. They don't give a fuck. They think they're doing a good job. Patting themselves on the fucking back.
Of course, one of the sad stories of Gateshead High Street is this site here, where the William IV pub is now, as you can see, closed, was the site where in the mid-19th century Geordie Ridley lived, who wrote and performed that famous song and now the anthem of Newcastle United, the Bladen Races. Gateshead lad, Gateshead High Street, and worked in a pit just down by the river.
That was open just over a year ago. It's only recently closed.
I've just been chatting to Michelle in there, the owner of GBC Floor, and bless her, she's a bit shy, she won't come on the camera, but she's been, running this place for about 42 years now and seen the decline on the high street over the last 20 years.
I imagine she doesn't want to be the face of Gateshead degradation.
So she feels like it's such a shame. She's had other flooring shops as well throughout the whole Tyneside area, but she is resigned to the fact that one way or another, in the next year or two at the most, this won't exist.
Well, yeah, because they're supposed to be knocking it all down and building new stuff.
My name is Emmanuel, and I'm a student in Gateshead College. I've been here about 6 years, and my opinion about the high street is that it's not what it used to be, I'd say. There used to be a lot more buildings like down over there, and it was nice to see it a bit more lively, but I feel like the life's just kind of gone.
It's not like, like in Newcastle,
Yeah.
like in Westgate Road, it's quite busy there. People do come for shopping, but here it's dry, to be honest. So we struggle, but just that this is what my...
She's only just open. I walked past the other day seeing this shop. If there's any African or Caribbean people in Gateshead, go see this woman's shop. Because honestly, I walked past the other day and I was thinking, how the hell is this person opened a business on this street and it's going to be viable? They need help. I'm not African and Caribbean, so I'm very unlikely to shop there. But if any of you are African and Caribbean in Gateshead, go help this lady out. This shop can't be more than 6-9 months old, or a year old, or I don't know, it can't be that old. But without help from the local community, local businesses will just die. There won't be a thing anymore. It'll just be Amazon and McDonald's, and that's it. And we don't want that.
My husband loves doing, so like me, I work, so but he loves doing this, so we keep pushing.
But is this just a neglected high street, abandoned with no plan? Or does Gateshead Council have some sort of long-term plan for Gateshead High Street?
Students. That's their plan, to rip off students, the same as Newcastle does.
Yeah, well, in this video, I'm going to put Gateshead's council leader on the spot and ask him. But first, I wanted to ask him about...
What they'll do, they're going to knock down this flyover in the next year, just behind him. This bridge here, because it's derelict, it's going to be knocked down the next year. They're going to knock down that high street he's just been walking down. They're going to build some business plots that they can rent out to businesses, and extortionate rent prices. So only businesses that will rip people off can afford to go there anyway. And then they're going to build loads of student accommodation, And I imagine this bridge will turn into a walkway on the way to town, and the student accommodations will be just off it. And so they can use this to then go into Newcastle. So also it's a great traffic solution as well for them. And that way they're going to make more money, and they're going to rip students off, and they're going to pretend that they're all doing it to try and help people. Like, this is what they do. Lots of cities do this. They rip students off. They put them in high-priced rent places where everything around them costs a fucking fortune, and they think that's a great thing. And, like, teaches people about capitalism, that's for sure.
Gated flyover behind us there, because I think we've got some news and a bit of an update.
We've taken all...
Yeah, it's getting knocked down. Like, I think maybe the end of the year. I'm going to be watching it. It's near my house. So when they blow it up, if they blow it up, I'm going to watch.
Martin, just to remind viewers, last December, just gone there, at a moment's notice, due to a kind of a routine inspection, we had to close the gated flyover and main...
Thank fuck for that. It's been nice and quiet around my house for a change, instead of all these busy cars.
Arterial route in and out of Newcastle, because the structure was compromised due to drainage systems. How did it get to that stage?
The flyover was built in the 1960s, and it was a controversial design at the time, cantilevered, held in with tendons. So it's concrete, so like a lot of concrete structures, it's been decaying for a long time. And we were aware of that and constantly monitoring and surveying. But as a consequence of that regular monitoring, it brought out this problem with the pier 19, I think it was. So as a consequence of that, for public safety reasons, I mean, there are structures around the world where they haven't been close and they've collapsed on people. So the right thing to...
Don't try and diminish the fucking fault that you've caused by pointing out that other people have had worse problems. That's such a political pivot, honestly.
Although it wasn't anticipated, we knew there'd be a problem going forward in terms of the future of the flyover. It would have to come down at some stage. But we hadn't anticipated that sort of immediate closure, okay?
So was anybody in particular or a particular department to blame for the short notice, which obviously caused traffic chaos at the time?
No, there was expert outside structural engineers, and they came in on a regular basis to inspect the flyover.
I mean, look at that. Look at all this wasted land around my area. Look at it all. Look at all that wasted land. That is a city centre. This is literally a city centre. Can you imagine that in London? Like, this is disused land you're all seeing here, apart from the factory. This is all disused land. Like, what? We've got all this space to do shit with, and they're doing shit all with it. Like, fuck all with it. The stuff you see in the background there, that blue and yellowish building with the white pattern top, is like student and business sort of university sort of place. But look at it. If you look on the other side of the river, which crosses the middle here, look at Newcastle's development, and then Gateshead's development.
And to give us
It pisses me off. It really pisses me off. My town, my city should be doing better than this.
recommendations of, you know, sort of its lifespan and safety, okay? There had been previous inspections, and they'd been given the sort of green light, although there was issues around constantly falling off concrete, you know, the flare in concrete.
There's a military graveyard near me, and I've never seen it, you know, getting maintained. It gets its grass cut, you know. Maybe if a tree falls down, the council will come and remove the tree. But the gravesite itself is in absolute disgusting state, considering there is literally World War I and World War II military graves there. With the military gravestones, and it's literally a Commonwealth graveyard full of military veterans who are deceased, and it's not maintained. It's just behind them down the road, by about half a mile down the road behind these two. And honestly, it makes me disgusted. I went round and picked up, must have been 300-400 cans of pop from around it. Nearly got jabbed by needles with probably fucking HIV or AIDS in it or some shit. Nearly got fucking a terminal illness from it. You know, these councillors have no excuse for the state of Gateshead. They have literally no excuse. It is disgusting what they have done to this place over the last 10 years. And they can claim it's underfunding from the Tory government, and it probably was. But they should have managed it better. They should have managed it better.
So that was having to be constantly maintained. But it was in December, their inspection, that they found the fault with the pier, and as a consequence, that had to be closed.
The reason this bridge had to be closed is because the drainage system where the water runs through, over time, more damage had been caused by the water running through the drainage system than was expected on one of these pillars, supporting pillars. And the supporting pillar, instead of being repaired, the decision was made by the government, I believe, it was just going to be demolished instead because it needed to come down in 10, 20 years anyway. So there was no point in bringing it down for a year and a half to repair 2 pillars or something. So what they did was they reinforced some pillars by pinning them, and that way it's not going to fall down, but the bridge still can't be used. That's the current situation. It's going to be demolished in the next 9 months.
Know that there was actually long-term plans to demolish it anyway. It was past its sell-by date. This has obviously kind of speeded things up a bit. So I understand there are now plans and there's money set aside to have this demolished. What's the actual plans?
The work will start very shortly. I've been trying very hard.
I've heard August.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, the council is hammering the government. They are trying their best in that regard to get this bridge down because they know it's just an eyesore. They want it gone. They want to get on with the future. That's fine.
In fact,
they are trying their best. It's just the government was trying not to even pay Newcastle for painting the Tyne Bridge for its 50th or 100th anniversary. 100th anniversary, I think. So, honestly, this government has caused so much. Like, this country has no money. This country has no money. It's stupid.
When I pin people down and sort of say, "Can you please tell?"
Unless it's foreign aid, of course. Then as soon as it's foreign aid, we've got money. You know, as soon as there's a war happens, we've got all the money in the world.
Tell me exactly the precise date that this work is going to start. I'm sort of struggling a little bit. Some work has already started. Trees are being cleared so contractors can get in. I'm being told definitely it'll be completed by the end of February next year. Okay, so before the end of the financial year. Okay, and work should start in the next few weeks. Now,
give themselves two months of delays till April for the financial year end. Then I see.
Now, the precise
should be done by then, of course. Political statement there, should be done, not will be done, should be.
Details of how the demolitions. I know that the footbridges are going to have to be removed by explosives. Okay, the part of the flyover, there's a possibility that parts of them can be lifted on these sort of like superstructures, transporters, can be taken off-site to a vacant site which is quite close by, and they'll be broken up there. That'll speed up the process if that can happen, okay? But at the very latest, it'll be completed by February next year.
That's quite interesting, actually. So they might use some super vehicles or super things, structures, to basically take part and segments of the bridge away to be dismantled at a nearby location, as it would be more cost-effective rather than demolishing it on-site. I could see that totally being viable, but as he said, if that's a possibility, that seems logical if it was viable. But if it wasn't easy, then it might end up being more expensive than just blowing the fucking thing up. But I don't know. These guys know better than me. I'm just doing some guesswork here.
Affect the Great North Run in September?
No, if you know the route of the Great North Run only very partially hits the very end of the flyover. So we're in very close liaison, as we always are, in terms of planning for the Great North Run. And the Great North Run will go ahead, and there'll be no disruption whatsoever, and that's programmed within the works.
Fast forward to March, April next year, the flyover's gone. What's happening to the road underneath?
Right, well, at the moment, you know, this is effectively 4 lanes of traffic. that went through to Newcastle. But it was built at a time when it was the A1. It was the only route into Newcastle. Since it was built in the 1960s, of course, the A1 has been diverted around the west of Gateshead and the west of Newcastle with routes in to central Newcastle. That's the main route now. Okay? Now, as a consequence of having this closure, a lot of that traffic that was coming through Gateshead into Newcastle has taken the appropriate route. They've went round the west of Gateshead and into Newcastle that way, or north of Newcastle.
Stay away from my house, bastards.
What we don't want to do, okay, is to encourage that traffic to come back. Right, so it will be replaced. The road system underneath will need to be established, but it will not be the same capacity as what is there at the present time.
So it might be just down to one lane either side.
That is what I wanted to hear. That means I will not have a new motorway behind my house. That means it will be as quiet as it is now for the foreseeable future. There might be a few more cars when they upgrade the roads. I imagine they'll put a nice cycle path in there for cyclists who want to cycle to work through Gateshead on the way to Newcastle. They'll put new pedestrian ways in. Positive. I like it. Stay the fuck away from my house, you bellends.
And the precise details of that I wouldn't like to say on camera at the present time because they're being worked out. But it'll not be a 4-lane highway anymore, because all that'll happen, let's be blunt about it, is that people who don't live in Gateshead, who travel through Gateshead to get somewhere else, causes disruption and health consequences as a product of driving through Gateshead. What we want people to do, if there is an alternative route, and the A1 is an alternative route, is to take the A1.
Now, would it be fair to say that, you know, in light of the cycle lanes at Askew Road, what's going to be happening with the flyover, that there's a motivation to restrict as much as possible traffic travelling through Gateshead or coming out of Newcastle?
Well, the short answer to that question is yes, there is an ambition to reduce the amount of traffic travelling through Gateshead. We don't get any benefit in Gateshead from people travelling through Gateshead to get somewhere else. What
we just get poisoned by their fucking death machine on the way through.
We need to improve is the quality of the journey for people who live in Gateshead. Now, you know, I'm aware of the real pressure that comes on social media. People say things like, well, because of the congestion that's taking place at the present time, reopen Askew Road, reopen the bus lanes. But
yeah, people are like, yes, let make my life easier, so I can make your life harder. That's basically what they're saying. Like, I'm sorry, right? You've already got a vehicle. Fucking go round. Or walk through. Like, I don't understand why people with cars are so fucking lazy sometimes when they've got to go a minute this way and they've literally got a fucking car that goes 100 mile an hour and they're whinging. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you lot? So entitled. Like, you expect my fucking city to open up a road for you lot when you're not even going to my city. You're trying to just pass through. Fuck off! Fuck off!
You know, I'm content to sit down with absolutely anybody and explain the rationale and reason why reopening Askew
I'll tell him, fuck off!
Road would not make the position better. It would actually make it worse, because closing Askew Road, even before the flyover closed, okay, traffic that would travel in and across the Tyne Bridge has been diverted across the Redriff Bridge. This is traffic coming from the west, either across Redriff Bridge or round Bladen.
That's right, and the Redriff Bridge normally would be like maybe standstill traffic that slowly moved at rush hour. But now, you go an hour before rush hour and an hour after, it's blocked traffic pretty much. Like it's double the capacity because everyone's just going over the Redriff Bridge instead of the Tyne Bridge because they're not cutting through where I live, which is good. But people are just so entitled. Like, it's the same as like, well, why can't I just walk through your farm, walk through your house to get to where I'm going because it's easier for me? No, fuck off. Unless you're coming to my place, fuck off. If you're coming into Gateshead to spend money in Gateshead, fine. You know, go to the Metro Centre, or, you know, go to Tesco's, or Aldi, whatever. Great, fantastic. But if you're just driving through my city to get somewhere else, you're just poisoning our atmosphere with your shitty death machine and potentially causing issues on the way through. Why don't you find another fucking route, you bellend? I don't give a shit about people in cars, to be honest, because I see loads of yous on phones, not obeying the rules of the law, not stopping at zebra crossings. Why the fuck should I care about you lot when you don't care about pedestrians and the rules of the law and the rules of the road? I don't care. I don't care. Fuck off. This is a city centre. People don't even need cars. You can walk everywhere. Buses, taxis. There's literally no need to have a car in a city centre. Realistically, no need. Unless you're like a worker who needs to carry shit to work, like tools and shit. They have an exception.
And north of Newcastle that way, traffic from the west has reduced by 40% travelling through Gateshead. For reopen Askew Road, all we're going to do is to encourage that traffic to come back. But also, once they get to the end of Askew Road, there's a set of traffic lights there, which are only occasionally now triggered by buses, and the traffic is allowed to flow through on the 2 lanes open on the Tyne Bridge. Put general traffic on that, and they'd be triggered all the time, and it would slow traffic going north-south.
So despite there not being many cyclists in the area, the cycle lanes aren't a mistake or an oversight, it's part of a wider plan.
No, you're absolutely right. You know,
I tell you what, if people kick off that much about trying to come through Gateshead in their cars to get to where they are, we could just, as a city, introduce, like, a toll for passing through. Like, if you're just going to use our city as a road, then honestly, I'd fucking charge people for it. Charge them for the privilege. Fucking, they'd sharp change their mind then, and if they're that bothered, they'll pay it, and we'll make some money from it. Like, then that way we at least get some money for the poison they've dumped from their exhaust on the way through. Like, this is the equivalent of me walking up to people in the street and breathing in their face a cigarette as I walk past, just on my way to where I'm going. It's my right to do this. It's my right to do this. Fuck off, entitled cunts.
What all of us need people to do is to reduce the amount we travel in cars. Now, there's several ways to do that. You can punish people. You know, you can increase the charge and taxes on cars. Now, I'm not a particular supporter of that because poor people suffer most as a consequence of that. What you need to do is to improve the alternative.
I'm not a supporter of taxing cars more. I know I've just said about charging people more money. Basically a tax anyway. But what I'm saying is, if people are just going to use my city to pass through in their car because it's easier than a 60-second detour and whinge about it, then charge them a passing through fee. Like, build them a road that, like, fucking under the ground, I don't fucking care, and charge them a fortune for it, make some money off it, I don't give a shit. But the equivalent of what they're doing is the equivalent of me walking down the street with a cigarette and breathing in everyone's faces on the way to where I'm going because it's easier for me. It doesn't benefit anyone else around me. In fact, it harms them. But because it's easier for me to get where I'm going, it's the equivalent. But you don't see that in your cars because it's essential because I'm fucking lazy. You were given legs by this universe to use, and some of you have never run a day in your life since you left high school.
You know, better public transport, better metro links, better bus services, better active travel alternatives. The commitment of the local authorities, not just Gateshead, but across the whole of the region, is to improve the options so people have a choice.
Martin, to any observer, Gateshead High Street, particularly the south end of the High Street,
there is an estimated £32 billion to be repaid as part of the mis-sold car finance scandal. Millions were sold car finance with hidden commission, without being told. It's why so many are now claiming money back. Complex Law's free online checker locates all of your past agreements, even the ones from old addresses, to see if you're eligible. It takes just 60 seconds to see
my
if
reaction
you're
video.
It's a disgrace, really.
Well,
it's a mess.
it's already pretty bad.
The amount of shops which have closed, the graffiti. How did it get to this stage? Because there's many people out there, I see in my comments, blame 20 years of a Labour council who are solely responsible for the deterioration of Gateshead Town Centre. What's the reality? How would you...
I'd say they have a large hand in it, but it's not just the Labour councillors, is it? It's not just Labour councillors who sit on councils. And the budget of the Labour council for the previous 15 years, well, 14 years, was dictated by a Tory government. So it's not as simple as that, Eddie. As much as everyone likes to blame Labour councils for everything because the Tories convinced them of this during their time in power, it is absolute bullshit because the Tories controlled all these councils' budgets. They also can approve or disapprove decisions. They're the government. Like what? I know we live in a democracy, but it's also a monarchy, right? It's not just a democracy. If the king or the prime minister says no, the councils can literally not do anything. You can just block them legally. But the point is, so the Tories controlled the budgets for all these Labour councils and underfunded them, and then gave the Tory councils the appropriate amount of money. So all the Labour councils seems like they were doing really bad. So all the people within those jurisdictions would be more likely to vote Tory as they dislike Labour because they were bad councillors. It's a mind game, isn't it? Eddie, you know this surely. I feel like these two men know this. I think he's just questioning him in a journalistic way, and I've missed something. And there's no way these two don't know this. There's no way these two don't know this.
Do you respond to that?
Yeah. I mean, what I would say, I appreciate everything you're saying because I've lived in Gateshead all my life, effectively.
I'm not sure what party he represents. He's not wearing a blue or a red tie. He seems to be a neutral councillor. I don't know. I recognise him. I think I seen him maybe yesterday. You can tell an MP in your area or a councillor, and I was curious whether he was an MP or a councillor, and now I know he's a councillor. So when I look at him, I'm going to be like, councillor, and he's going to look at me and be like, king. That's what's going to happen.
And I remember coming to Gateshead as a child with my parents, and you're absolutely right. It was a thriving Saturday, and you used to go shopping in central Gateshead, so I understand what Gateshead was like.
Gateshead for me is this isn't Gateshead for me, like although it is, but my parents used to take me up to Newcastle with my brother and sister every 3-6 months, basically every year, usually at least once a year, and we'd stay with our grandparents or go on holidays. It's just travel from Newcastle Airport for reasons like our grandparents looking after the dogs or something like that. So every year I would come to Gateshead from down south in Cranley. Although I would tell everyone in Cranley we would go to Newcastle, it was just easier because none of them knew where Gateshead was. So we just said Newcastle because it is Newcastle. It's just the other side of the river to Newcastle. Okay? The dark lands. Anyway, so what I know of Gateshead is like nice little remote villages and coal mining communities and that sort of thing. Like Wrighton and Prudhoe and Chopwell, like these sorts of places, and they are beautiful places, absolutely gorgeous places, especially in like the winter and the summer, absolutely stunning. If you ever want to go to a really nice pagan woods full of witchcraft and wizardry, go to Chopwell Woods. There's literally a pentagram of trees because someone planted trees in a pentagram for some reason. It's got a rich history of like pagan witchcraft and dark history, really dark shit, really dark. But it's a stunning place, absolutely stunning place. So central Gateshead for me is like a modern urban environment. It's not the Gateshead I know. The Gateshead I know is like vast countrysides of fields, quarries, horses, cows, that sort of shit. That's the Gateshead I know. But that's just personal bias.
In the early 1970s and what it's like today, okay? And actually, I think any right-thinking person knows or knew in the 1980s, I think, what was going to happen to Gateshead and many shopping centres around the country, regardless of the political colour of the council that was in charge, whether it's Solihull or wherever it might be. Shopping I mean, particularly with out-of-town shoppers, shopping
Metro
centres,
Centre, yeah.
like the Metro Centre. You know, the Metro Centre opened, I think, in 1985, something like that.
My parents never took me to Metroland, the bastards. Everyone always bangs on about Metroland, and we used to just pass it in the car, and my mum and dad were like, nope, 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 don't go there, nope, 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 nope. We're miserable bastards, we're not going to Metroland. Bastards. It's like the cheapest theme park you can ever imagine, and like never got to go. Devastating.
And you've got Allen Square on the other side of the river, and effectively Gateshead as a shopping centre was going to go into decline. Now, on top of that, in the 1990s, we had the growth of the internet.
My mum and dad moved down south to Cranley from Gateshead. Must have been 1991, 2 or 3. I'm guessing 91, 92, very, very young. I was very little. My first house wasn't in down south. It was in Gateshead. I was just so little, I don't remember it. So technically, although I was born down south, in a hospital down south, my first home was in Brighton in Gateshead. But I'm not accepted as a Geordie, but I'm not accepted as a Southerner. So I'm a Cockney Geordie. I'm not accepted by any of you bastards. I had to make my own group. Fucking bellends.
As well, okay? So what's happened over those 30 years is that, you know...
He's the postman, doing his job on YouTube. Look at that hard-working man, baking in the sun. Someone buy him a beer for being a good man doing his job.
Charity shops, barber shops, charity shops have been the only thing that landlords could attract into their shops in any shopping street. And of course, it wasn't worth their money to invest. Why invest in improving a property if the rental value doesn't increase? So shopping centres like Gateshead have declined, and as a consequence of that, the only real alternative for the council is to step in and redevelop the whole of the area.
So there is a plan.
Oh, well,
there is a
yeah.
long-term strategy to allow the business.
The plan I currently know of and have heard of is they're going to knock down this entire street they're on at the minute and redevelop it. But that's been the plan for a kind of few years now. They were just buying businesses out, like the pubs and things, so that they had the rights to do it. Still nothing. It's been years.
Businesses to go out of business, perhaps
Yeah.
buy the remainder.
Yeah.
For what end? What is the wider plan of Gateshead
Okay.
Council?
Well, there isn't the same demand for retail in Gateshead Town Centre.
But there would be if you create the demand. This is what pisses me off about Gateshead Council. They don't understand that you can create the demand. Surely, like... People don't come to Gateshead for retail because there is no retail in Gateshead. There used to be lots of clothing shops, like retail clothing shops that women would go to buy little nice outfits for themselves that they liked, to try on different outfits, you know, and then visit charity shops and things like this. They'd go out to a cafe and have some food with a Ben or a cup of tea and have a natter on with Barbara about this fucking cream that doesn't itch, whatever. They don't understand. You have to create the demand and then supply the demand. I got 100% in my business studies exam. I know what I'm fucking talking about. I should be Gateshead MP. No doubt, I should be Gateshead MP.
What we need to do is to concentrate the retail offer into rather than it being sort of a regional centre trying to compete with the centre of Newcastle or the Metro Centre. It needs to be a district centre servicing the need of the immediate community around it. So what the council is doing now is...
Well, we used to have that, right? Tesco's used to be 24 hours, and it was supposed to be to supply the local community with all its needs, everything it basically needed, at all hours of the day. But then during COVID, they were allowed to renege on their contract of it being 24 hours, which was the only reason they got that plot. And now they're only open till like midnight. And they save loads of money on employees, and they now charge extortionate prices for products that shouldn't cost what they cost, and they just extort the entire area for their basic amenities. It's a disgusting situation, and it's people like him who have allowed it, because they are not business savvy. Like, they should have never allowed Tesco to renege on its 24-hour contract. That's the only reason they got the plot. So the only thing that the local community here has to feed itself, apart from online deliveries, is shops that extort them for their local needs. That's all they have, is extortion all around them. Whether it's for toilet roll, for bread, butter. And so everyone's fucking skint.
We are buying up all of it. Now, let's be blunt about that. That's an expensive process.
Can you give us an example of premises that we've bought?
I've got to be careful what I say because there are still some properties which are holding out. Okay, and we want to.
See, this is the problem. There's properties that don't want to move. So why don't they just work around them? If they're not willing to sell, just work around them. Surely there's a way. Where there is a will, there is a way.
Agreement with those, but yes, we've bought up.
He knew it was Eddie there, and he stopped to get on YouTube. He's like, "Here, mate, you're gonna see us on YouTube tomorrow, eh? Ho!"
It's agreement with those, but yes, we've bought up. There's
got his little handbag on his bike.
Curlies, which were incredibly expensive because it's worked out on what the barrelage is within those pubs. There's a legal formula.
So you look at the camera.
Formula to ordinarily buying.
Yeah, okay. Particularly with pubs, it's an expensive process, okay, but it's still the same with other properties. The people, and there are people who live here, okay. Now, the vast majority have reached agreement with the council. We've slowly bought up the properties. I think there are about 14 that are still we haven't reached agreement with.
That's quite a lot. There's only about 30 plots of businesses at most there. At most. So that's under half, just under half of them, probably. Maybe even just over.
Landlords, I think. And we're hoping, though, because there's, demolition's going to start very shortly. Okay, some of the properties that we've bought.
Weeks, months, years?
Weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, so...
Yeah. The high street here, weeks?
Within weeks, yes.
Wow.
Curly's, the what used to be the Civic Restaurant, the Park Lane site there, and other sites. The sites that we hold, we will be demolishing in the next few weeks. So that'll people will see that improvement. I also think that'll focus the mind on those who are left to start reaching agreement with the council. What we prefer is not to go down the process of compulsory purchase because we want to do this by agreement.
That's a possibility.
Well, if necessary, of course we will. Okay, the council has set aside, many millions of pounds in really difficult circumstances to acquire this.
I'm going to be honest, right? I was thinking I was not going to give my perspective on this because it might hinder or alter people's perspective. But honestly, if I owned a business in this high street, although it's derelict, although it's doing terribly, and they're wanting to entirely knock it down, they'll offer you a good price, I wouldn't be selling. Because the very fact that they are redeveloping and going to try and make it a success would bring more customers to my door than I'd had for the last 10 years. So why would I leave when it's about to get good? It would make no sense to me. So personally speaking, if I did own a business on this high street, I wouldn't be selling at this moment in time. I would be trying to make it out all the way until they finish the redevelopment to enjoy and reap the benefits of that redevelopment. Personally speaking, of course, from a business point of view, why would you literally leave the area where you set up shop when there's about to be an increase of at least 2 times the amount of customers walking around? Like, what? You wouldn't, would you? You'd at least see it out to see if it got better, wouldn't you? You wouldn't shut up shop when it's about to get better. That makes no sense. This is one of the reasons why, if I get the chance, I will buy this property outright. Because I am so close to Gateshead that in 30 years' time, this will be the equivalent city centre situation to where they are now, because city centres expand, right? So if I was to get this property now, in 30 years' time, it would be double the value of what it is now. I would not lose money. I would only gain money because it's a city centre property, and city centre locations are expensive, and it would only be cheap at the minute because it's this situation. In 30 years' time, that might be a boutique street with high-end products, fucking Porsches and Lamborghinis driving down it. You don't know. The world changes very quickly, okay? So it's unlikely, but even if it was just a normal middle-class street, not like derelict, no business, my house would be worth more because it's so close to this. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's my plan anyway.
This land, to put it together to be a redevelopment site. And the redevelopment on the site will be predominantly housing.
Not trying to tie you down to a particular time scale.
Yeah.
Roughly to the ordinary person.
Yeah.
2 years, they said, I think, but I reckon it's going to be about 5.
How long could you be looking at before the council own all of the high street and it's ready to be demolished?
They're never going to own all the high street. Don't be stupid. He's even laughing at that. They're never going to own all. There's people on that high street who don't need the money. Like, why would they sell?
Well, I'd like to say in the next few weeks. But of course, that depends upon reaching agreement. You know, the people who own these...
Could it take a year or two?
Well, it could... well, yes, of course. Okay, I don't want to be pinned down on these things.
I'm not trying to pin you down.
I mean, these people have rights. Yeah. You know, people own these properties. If I owned one of these properties, I would want to be treated with decency and dignity and respect, okay?
Yeah. They have tried to literally keep business going through this fucking shit that they've been put through. So don't throw shit at them now. You should be helping them and supporting them, regardless if they don't agree with what you want or not, because it doesn't matter. They're perfectly respectable people doing businesses, and they employ people who feed their families from working. Like, come on. I know we live in a capitalist world, but let's have some fucking common sense and some decency.
So we're going through that process of dealing with people, but ultimately, given the importance of the redevelopment of this site, the many millions of pounds that the council, has invested, because that's purchasing it, okay? We need to get ahead and do this. So we've had to go through the compulsory purchase process. Yes, it could take many months to do so, but we would reach the end goal.
Shouldn't do the compulsory purchase option. Like, why? Build around them, work around them. These people have been through this shit for years, and you're going to remove their business from them when it's about to get good. That doesn't seem fair to me. I'd take them to court for that. I'd fucking take them to court, and I'd win. If someone wants me to represent them, I'd win. It's an easy case, that is. Easy case.
Take a long time
to do so, but we would reach the end goal.
Of course, developments do take a long time to unfold. Let's fast forward a few years.
Yeah.
What will this area, where we're stood now, what will it look like?
Right, well, it'll be predominantly housing. There'll be a mix of types of housing, of course. There'll be developers who come in and build houses to buy. There'll be affordable homes.
They knocked back that artistic representation as it wasn't viable. It was supposed to be like a community urban garden with ethnic businesses. They already knocked that back. Why are they using that for? Am I just getting it mixed up with another one?
Affordable homes is still a significant price. There'll be social homes. There's also a desperate need in Gateshead for support, for older people, particularly supported living. We have a shortage. One of the problems in the NHS is getting people out of hospital who have been in hospital, who can't live as independently as they used to.
Fucking trying to get out of hospital sometimes harder than getting in, I tell you. Bastards. You have no idea.
But need some kind of supported living. Similarly to the council, it's incredibly expensive to put people into residential care. It's 60, 80,000 pound a year for somebody in residential care. If you can support somebody at home and put community services in and have support services, it is cheaper. So the vision is to provide a range of housing, but it'll be intergenerational. It'll be young people with older people and developing supported housing for elderly people.
Will there be other facilities like public realms, cafes maybe?
Yeah, there'll be squares, public realm. It'll be about trying to breathe life into the area and bringing a population into central Gateshead, which will support the Trinity Centre and the north end of the house.
The Trinity Centre doesn't need support. It's a private fucking business area that literally is owned by private businesses and rents out to private businesses. They don't fucking need help. Like, they're probably investors. That's what this is probably investment by them that he has to into him.
Street, where there's a really still vibrant, and the railway quarter as well, there's still a really vibrant retail, night economy, entertainment economy.
So reasons to be up.
I wouldn't recommend the nightlife in Gateshead unless you like a bit of karaoke with people who can't sing. Sure, go for it. I can't sing, and I had a good laugh there. There's a few places you can have a nice drink, a quiet drink, but honestly, when you've got Newcastle on your doorstep, the drinking scene in Gateshead compared to Newcastle is like 1% compared to 100%. You can't compete with Newcastle for a drinking game in Gateshead. You can't compete. There are other games in Gateshead you could win with, but not drinking. Okay? Not drinking.
Optimistic.
Yeah.
Politics, I imagine, is a funny old game, and let's say, I think it's next spring is the elections, local elections.
Yeah.
Let's say Labour aren't in and there's another party.
Okay.
Would those plans still go ahead? Do you think?
Well, I'm not going to make political capital, you know what I mean? My view is that this is so important.
I can't imagine any person would take over Gateshead, even if it wasn't Labour, like Tory, Reform, fucking Lib Dem, Green. I can't imagine anyone would take over and not redevelop the high street. But I didn't realise the local elections were next year. Maybe I should sign my name up. Maybe. I don't think I'm ready yet, though.
To Gateshead, you know, the redevelopment of the Old Town Hall quarter, where we've got a developer signed up, where we've got a plan, where we'll see new housing and growth on that area over the next 2 years. Whomever is in charge of Gateshead Council in the future would be
Would have a responsibility to breathe life
you
into
know,
the town.
I'm not going to be insulting, but it would be reckless not to continue ahead with that.
He's right. I can't imagine any person would get his job or he like be in his shoes in a year's time and not be doing the same thing he's doing. This town, this city, Gateshead needs this done. Otherwise, it's just going to keep dying. We don't want Gateshead to die. We need it to grow. Okay? That's what we need. And for that, you need people.
Also, given the desperate need for housing in Gateshead and the redevelopment of this site and the amount of money that we've spent buying up the properties, the investment they've made into the south end of the high street, again, I think, and would be 99% there towards implementation, I think that it would be whomever.
Is it fair to assume that the current Labour Council have planned and costed all of these projects, like the High Street and the flyover, that there's not going to be an additional burden to the local taxpayer? It's all been funded?
Yeah.
By private investors, the Trinity Centre, yeah. The people who have extorted the public, who are now going to use that money to help invest in a new business ventures in the city centre to extort the public more. This is how capitalism works, baby. That's capitalism, baby.
The example I would give, of course, is the flyover. There was, you know, we've been seeking from central government, previous governments, and this government, support for the costs of removing the flyover.
Yeah, so because they've not been getting the correct funds for years from the Tories, and now they're struggling to get funds just to bring a fucking derelict building down from the government, they've had to get the finances from private ventures. Otherwise, they couldn't do these things they're trying to do. It's really an unfortunate situation. It's a terrible, terrible game that politicians are made to play sometimes. Like, absolutely awful.
We can't wait. Nice one, pal.
Couldn't plan it any better.
Breaking news.
Eddie is he's quite famous in our area because he does a lot of good videos. You might not know him down south in Cranley. Obviously, you southern bastards, you won't know him, but he's quite a big YouTuber up in our area. Much bigger than me. Like, I'm only known by like a few people for YouTube anyway. I'm known for other reasons. I don't know. I'm not as well known as Eddie, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, I forgot what I was saying. Sorry. The example would be the flyover, of course, right? When we've announced that's going to be £18 million to demolish the flyover, and we've made that provision. Now, we're doing far better, of course, if we could have gotten that money from central government. And we'll still continue to put that pressure on. We're getting £2.5 million from the mayor at the Combined Authority. I've had some discussions this week. Actually, on Monday, I met the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and I've had really positive feedback that they're looking towards making a support from central government. So that'll reduce the burden on Gateshead. But whatever it costs, £18 million, we need to remove that. Now, that's money that it'll not affect the day-to-day services of Gateshead Council because it's borrowed money. Okay, it comes out of the capital budget. It's a one-off provision. You don't spend £18 million every year. It's just in 1 year, so it's borrowed, and there's the borrowing costs of that. Okay, so what we're seeking to do is
So because they've had to borrow this money instead of getting it from the government, that means they'll have to pay the costs of borrowing it. Which, if you're talking about like even 1%. Like 1% of 18 million is a lot. So it's a lot of additional cost for the taxpayer just because the government didn't front up the money. So my council's going to be getting less money because they're paying this borrowing cost for the next 10 years that they shouldn't have had to pay because the government should have just given them the fucking money.
what we're seeking to do is to reduce the overall burden of that on the population of Gateshead. But ultimately, it's got to be done. It'll, if we get rid of the flyover, redevelop this site, it improves the economy of Gateshead. More houses and people working means people paying council tax. If you build 1,000 houses, you improve the council tax take to Gateshead Council by.
As long as those 1,000 people have jobs, and otherwise it's just benefits, isn't it?
£2 million. Yeah. Right. So by redeveloping the area, it's an investment. It saves money in the future.
And then on a couple of positives, I've just found out that the Tyneside pub at the northern end of the High Street has just been shortlisted as a nomination for one of the community pubs of the year for the north of England right up to Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever been in this Tyneside, or I think it's near the job centre down the bottom. So when I talked about the drinking culture, I excluded that. I'm on about the bars at the top end of the High Street.
I am aware of it, yes. Sorry.
I just wanted to give them a shout out. That's a positive story because I know Louisa particularly, who's one of the, her and her partner Lee own it. She does amazing volunteer community work with her group to try and spruce up the High Street area, painting fences, litter picking, planting flowers. Amazing.
Louisa and
that right there, not here.
Flowers.
This area here, every single day, is occupied by used to be. Actually, the last couple of weeks, it's been different. I've seen some people sitting on the chairs who aren't normal people. But usually, 9 times out of 10, this entire area is filled with people on drink, on Valium, on other things. And I don't give a fuck. I just storm through. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't bother me. But for the rest of the community, a lot of people are intimidated, and you see them like heads down, walking down, and that. You know what I mean? They know some of these people and what they've done, and this was supposed to be like the nice entrance, and instead it ends up being like the place where people try and mug you on the way through, basically.
Amazing.
Louisa and the group.
I don't even know why isn't there CCTV all over the High Street? There's not. There should be, but there's not. There is for traffic, but like
that have businesses who operate on the north end of the High Street, okay? I think if
there's one thing criminals hate, it's video evidence of their crimes. So why don't you just put fucking cameras everywhere? I don't give a shit. I'm not committing. I walk past smoking, you don't know, doesn't bother me.
Positive group of people, okay? I've met them. Okay, and of course they're frustrated. They're saying things like, "Well, we're trying to do this, but the council said no. We're trying to do this, and the council said no."
Are you saying no?
No, my job as a councillor, and I'm sure Louisa will confirm this, was to say, leave that with me, I'll get the officers down there. I'll, if necessary, come down with myself and the Chief Executive of the Council, and we'll find a way to sort it out. Right. Instead of the computer saying no, we're going to say, well, you can't, but we'll find a way around it. Right. So my commitment...
Look like someone on the way to court there.
...is to work with that group...
Coming from Forth Banks.
...to make sure that what we're doing, the fantastic work they're doing, and the voluntary work they're doing, I mean...
And lastly, a huge success story I think to talk about, down the bottom end of Gateshead by the high-level bridge, the railway quarter. Now, I didn't realise...
Oh, yeah, it's well loved by lots of people.
I went down on Friday night with a couple of friends and saw...
Monday.com's AI...
Yeah, that's always been a popular place. Apparently you can get some very nice ales there. I'm not a big ale drinker myself, so can't speak for it, but I've never heard a bad word about it.
How vibrant and healthy the railway quarter is with those little... like the Station East and the microbus and one or two other little micro pubs and breweries. What a buzz about the place. There was tables all over outside, the lighting, it was...
That area down there by the bridge is doing better than the fucking high street.
Clearly there's been a lot of investment going on, because I was shocked at how busy it was.
No, I agree. The railway quarter is thriving, and I would encourage anyone who's watching this...
Thrives in good weather, to be fair. But there's rarely good weather.
Literally go down, okay? They need your support, okay?
Hell, I might go for a drink there today, this afternoon with a girlfriend. Why not? Maybe. We'll be in the area.
Similarly, the businesses on the north end of the high street, the Tyneside, there's also other businesses down there. There's, well, without identifying them, okay? But they need your support as well. But
can't be seen to be biased now, can you, Mr. Councillor? How man, tell us where you going for a pint, you daft cunt. Fucking tell us.
One of the things when I've sat down with the friends...
I mean that with all due respect. I don't know this man, I'm sure he does great things for the area. Although I called him a daft cunt, I meant it in good humour. I'm sure he's fine.
Of Gateshead High Street was to emphasise to them the improvements we're going to see over the next 2 or 3 years. Okay, the town, I cannot emphasise enough, the town hall quarter. Okay, that old town hall, which has stood, it lost its purpose in 1987 when...
It's honestly a beautiful building, the town hall. I don't know why it's not been used for so many years. It's literally this beautiful piece of architecture that could be like a stunning opera house or stage for plays or actors. You know, it's this sort of... I'll show you here. It must show you, surely.
It's been derelict for years. It's a listed building. We've got a new developer, Capital and Centric, who have I would encourage people to go online and see what they've done in Manchester and the Northwest. Really committed organisation, not in just for the short term, sort of build some houses and move out. They want to work with the community, and that whole area around the town hall is going to be redeveloped, new housing. And we should see that within the next 2 years. So I think that whole area is going to go up.
Well, there you have it, direct from the horse's mouth, exactly what...
I'm going to have to show you this listed building in Gateshead because of that. Gateshead Town Centre. Town Hall, actually. Right, because look at this. Look at it. Look at that building. Like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, making this housing? It's like a beautiful... It's like Mini Ben. That's called Mini Ben, right? Look at it. Show me this. Like, what? Look at this. Why would they not turn it into, like, a museum or an opera house or something? Like, look at it. Like, why wouldn't you just turn that into an opera house or a stage for actors? Or this little monument here is called Little Ben. What? Why would you make that into houses? Are you insane? Are you fucking mental? Honestly. I don't know how someone looks at this place and goes, houses. No, that there needs to be like a music venue or an actors venue or a museum or an art gallery. It's a beautiful building. Look at the top of it, all oxidized. Obviously, it needs cleaned up a bit, but it's gorgeous. It's one of the nicest looking things in Gateshead. It needs sorting out. It's been sat there derelict for 10 years, and they're going to redevelop the area around it. It's already been redeveloped. Like, sort the building out. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. It's been a long one, this, but if you do like the video, it was Tyneside Life on YouTube. His name's Eddie. He's a great YouTuber. Does loads of interesting historical videos and some current affairs. Like he's been covering some of the sycamore tree felling trial and other stuff. He used to do football stuff. I don't know if he still does. So I'm not 100% sure, Eddie. But pretty sure he's a Gateshead lad, so give him a shout out. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.